Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming this morning. My name is Olivier. I'm the managing director of NUMA Barcelona, which we wanted to introduce to you today before running the selection process. Or actually, we are in the beginning of our selection process for our second batch. Without going any further, just want to pause here and explain to you what NUMA Barcelona, which is a joint initiative of Barcelona Mobile World Capital, mVentures, and NUMA. So I want to thank Barcelona Mobile World Capital for having us here today, and I'm going to let Jordi Koufi from mVentures introduce.
Okay, so hello to everyone and welcome to the space. I'm the responsible for the acceleration programs of Mobile World Capital. First of all, for the people that don't know, what is the Mobile World Capital? The Mobile World Capital is a public foundation created with the objective of using technology to improve society and people's lives in all its levels. What we do is we have three strategy lines: innovation, transformation, and empowerment. And the idea is that we have 5 projects that work in these 3 lines to work towards these objectives. In empowerment, we have M-Schools, which is a program helping students in high school to think about lean startup processes and how to create startups. Then we have transformation, which is D-Lab. It uses technology. D-Lab uses technology to solve structural problems of cities. Going Digital is a program to change the mindset of executives to take top-down initiatives on technology towards all their company. And then we have innovation, which is a topic that matters today. We have the initiative that you guys know for sure. It's 4 years from now here in Barcelona, which is a joint space to put in common VCs and startups. And then we have Mobile Ventures. Slide? Okay. So in Mobile Ventures, what we do is we try to foster innovation through accelerations. We partner with the best international accelerators like NUMA, top accelerator from France, and Startup Bootcamp to take their expertise and their international knowledge and bring it to Barcelona. So all the value that they have and the connections and the network comes to the city. Just to give a brief idea on the numbers that we're talking about, this is the Mobile World Congress. With the number of attendees that we have, all the companies that come to the event, in the 4 years from now, the connections and the place necessary for startups to be able to network effectively and make lots of VCs, and the programs that we have accelerated so far. So we are really happy to kick off the second batch of NUMA.
Thank you, Jordi. Sorry. Barcelona Mobile World Capital is probably well known to all of you guys. NUMA potentially a little bit less because we are a new joiner in town. So what is NUMA? NUMA is a pioneer in the acceleration space. We have been accelerating startups since 2011 when we launched France's hello, maybe a little bit up the sound. So when we launched our first acceleration program in France, there was no accelerator back then. Since we've run about 20 seasons, 20 programs since 2011, we are an accelerator, which means that we don't fee our startups. We don't try to make money by invoicing them. We take equity in our startups, and that's what we work for. We work as shareholders. We don't work as service providers with the startups. So we look for long-term value. We align ourselves with the entrepreneurs, and we work alongside them. And the last thing is that we're global. We are in 8 countries. We have programs live in, always forget one, in New York, Berlin, Moscow, Casablanca, Bengaluru, Mexico, Paris, and of course, Barcelona, which means that we are trying after the programs to help our startups open new markets and effectively benefit from our franchise by going in a second kind of program, which we call scale hubs. So what is the program? The program goes on for 4 months. If I have to sort of put out the philosophy of what we do in one sentence, I'd say that we work on execution only. We stress test startups' plan, and we make them ready to raise venture capital. Often people confuse, or often with junior founders or first-time founders, there's a confusion between success and fundraising. And in our view, and I think very quickly we explain it to the startups, fundraising is no measure of success. It's just a necessity. And putting startups in the mindset of raising funds from VCs will fast-track their success or their failure. And failing is fine for as long as you try. And this is the mindset that we put our startups in, which is we do not necessarily work with companies that are not VC backable, and that we'll talk later about what are we looking for. We look for startups which can be funded by VCs, and we put them in this mindset of stressing what they're doing to make sure that they raise venture capital money as soon as possible. What do we do, and how? What does the program look like? So the program goes on for 4 months. It has effectively, if I have to sort of structure it or give you an idea of how it is structured, it's effective. Can you all see the slides, or am I in the way? No, you want me to move? All right, I'm going to move. It's effectively a 3-phase program. The first part of the program is what we call the washing machine, where we go with the entrepreneurs through the process of OKRs and setting a roadmap. For this roadmap, we need you guys to have a vision of what you want to do, and we will help you cascade this vision into objectives, into key results, and into to-dos that we will go through with you every week. In this first month, you will meet a lot of people, starting obviously with NUMA's team, the advisory group, which I will introduce to you later, and a lot of mentors. There is this phase which we call the Mentor Madness, and I'll talk a little bit about it later, which effectively involves entrepreneurs from the Barcelona scene or from the rest of our network, people flying from London, from Paris, from Madrid, from elsewhere, to come and meet with you. The second part of the program, which is effectively the execution phase, is doing what we said we would do together. And we work with you on weekly cycles to make sure that we reset the right to-dos and that we set objectives every week, and that we assign ourselves figures around these objectives, and that we strive every week to get those objectives done. And the last time, which we call the money time, is effectively preparing the startups to raise venture capital money, going through their pitch decks, going through their cohorts, making sure that they understand why they need to raise money. And this question often gets responded during the second phase of the execution, where people or the startups really get a good sense of what is the next business milestone that they need to achieve to unlock value that venture capital investors will be happy to fund. And obviously, we introduce our startups to a lot of investors. We will be this season conducting an event for business angels, which we are going to sort of meet in the coming months. There will not be 100 business angels participating to the event. We're going to try to make it like small and nice. Probably 30 to 35 business angels from our network or from the Barcelona ecosystem. The purpose of meeting with business angels is that startups, when they go and see venture capital investors, already have 20 to 30% of their round committed, which makes it a lot easier to get the rest of their round completed. the keywords of the next season, there's effectively three, to put you in the mindset of what we're going to do. It will be business focused. We will work on execution only, and it will be mentorship driven. Execution only there's two ways to sort of define it. One is we will not take startups, unfortunately, and it will be part in the selection process. We will be looking for startups with market validation. So the word execution effectively has a sense or has a meaning when you talk to startups with market validation. Otherwise, we're still in this market validation phase and we're not executing yet. We are looking for use case, looking for a type of persona, looking for a pricing model or pricing plan. And we are not, until we have validated the problem, until we have people who confirm that there is a problem that needs to be solved, until we confirm that these people are happy to use your product or happy to buy your product, until we have those things ticked, we are not yet in market validation. And we cannot execute, we cannot duplicate, we cannot go into execution problem. We're still doing market research. And this phase of market research is super interesting. We've done it for years with our programs in the past. And we've decided throughout the network to move past this market research because there's a lot of people that do great work in the market research phase. There's a lot of incubators, a lot of accelerators, a lot of schools that help entrepreneurs get their market validation. Where we see a market gap is afterwards, is when it comes to execute, we see that founders lack methodologies, like the sense of priorities, and like frameworks. Because it's hard, and because unless you've already founded a company 1, 2, or 3 times, you always face new issues. And so this is this part of your company's life that we'd love to work with you on. Which means that the execution phase will be like, there is, just to give you some sort of ideas, everything will be OKR driven. This is what I talked to you before. Everything must revolve around business KPIs, around metrics that can be measured, that help in the end de-risk your business and achieve milestones. And last but not least, if your company lacks bandwidth to sort of execute faster, we will give you access to the associate team, which I will introduce to you right after. Business focus means, as I just said, everything must revolve around business KPIs. Could be sales, could be something else. But we will not be working on, again, we will not be working on the phase before, which is the market validation. We will try to help startups build their growth and their sales machine, and for that there are great people that we're going to get involved. Either people that are growth experts in generating audience, generating leads, or something else, or in helping you build your sales machine and build your sales pipeline and make sure that you have a commercial process to get from 1 client to 100. And last but not least, and this is where the partnership with Barcelona Mobile World Capital is also very interesting, is that we will provide our startups with access to our corporate network. I'm sorry, you're probably going to see a lot of French logos in there, so I didn't have time to sort of put all the references, all the name of all the corporates that Barcelona Mobile World Capital works with, because there's just too many. So there is, within mVentures, there is a wealth of corporates who are looking to work with startups. We will be building in the next couple of months with mVentures a process for our startups during the program to get access to those corporates faster and with the right introduction at the right level. Mentorship driven. There are a lot of, this is probably, the sense of mentorship is something that is widely shared. And I just want to give you some sort of thoughts around what I want from my startups to work with their mentors. First of all, mentors are pro bono. We don't pay them. We don't give them equity. We think that those people have a lot of value to share with the entrepreneurs, and they share their passion. And this is what I'll be looking for in our mentors, we're going to build we have a mentor manifesto that our mentors sort of confirm that they abide by, that they agree to it, and the principle is very much pay forward. So people helping our startups because they're passionate, because they like the entrepreneurs that they're going to be working with. And mentorship is not something that we impose on them. It's not something that we impose on the startups. It's a matchmaking process. It happens during the Mentor Madness, where we will be suggesting for each of our mentor 3 to 4 startups, and we will be working like a conciergerie. We will be organizing the meetings. They will be happening here or elsewhere. There will be someone from the team attending those meetings, someone from our team taking notes to make sure that both the mentor and the startups can focus on the discussion, and at the end of the discussion can go back and have notes and some sort of minutes of what was said. The second spirit is that those relationships can go for life. And they are super important, and this is my mentors when I was accelerated was someone that I've been seeing even just a couple of months ago, and I was accelerated 3 years ago, and I don't even have a startup anymore. I work for NUMA. And it's just that those relationships are building relationships that are more than constructive, are critical in helping founders become CEOs, CTOs, COOs. Second thing is that alongside the mentors will be experts who will bring some skills on very specific topics. Those experts would not necessarily come for workshops. They could come for workshops. They could also come for one-to-one. And so this is the new thing, which is that some of those experts will be mandated by NUMA to come and work for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, whatever it takes to get a problem solved with the startups. And the last thing is workshop. Obviously, we will be doing there will be some workshops on fundraising. There will be some workshops on OKRs. There will be some workshop on different topics, which we think concern all of the 10 startups. But apart from those workshops, we're not going to be sort of throwing hours of workshops at our startups. We will try to focus on one-to-one with mentors, with the advisory team, or with experts who will come and work with the startups and get stuff done. So this is, often I get asked, what is my agenda when I'm an accelerated startup? As it's an execution-focused program, we try not to have our startup's agenda too busy. Because if they need to execute, if we're here to help them grow, we need to make sure they have time to work. So the first part of the week is only for the NUMA team, where we set our objectives for the week and how we're going to help the startups. And so, for instance, a few weeks ago, Jordi, who is somewhere over there, said, I want to do an info session, and I'm setting myself an objective of 75 people attending. So we're going to count afterwards how many of you are here. The second part, the second meeting is working with all the founders who share their goals at the beginning of the week and get all the founders to comment on what they're trying to do. And it's primarily the CEOs who attend it. And what we see is that by having founders share what happens between their startups, very often they get sort of skills exchanged and sort of help each other, which is very good in building what we hope is a very close group of alumni. The third meeting is effectively a one-on-one between the advisory team and each startups on understanding the KPI of the week. What are we going to do this week? This meeting is called My Goal, My Ask. We ask startups to come with one goal for the week and one ask. Often the discussion digresses into something else, but at the end of the meeting, which is very short, it goes for 10 to 15 minutes, we agreed on one objective and one ask for the team. Tuesday is free, so startups can work. Wednesday morning, I catch up with all startups for one-to-one to understand what's happening, where they are experiencing issues, or where they are doing great things, and there are great things happening during the program. And Wednesday night or Wednesday end of afternoon is effectively the moment where we do some masterclasses, some workshops, or some dinners. As you see, 6:30 Wednesday night typically. And then we have a CEO dinner. CEO dinner is when we invite the CEO of a successful startups to come and share his experience as entrepreneur or share business tips. And we call them founder stories. There's effectively two kinds of founder stories. People that have been super successful and we're super happy to listen to them because they've got great things to say. Or people that are have been very successful but are not as popular as the other ones or not as well known. And most of the time they come and share business execution tips. Thursday workshops again sometimes. And then another one-on-one with the startups that I didn't see on Wednesday morning. And if need be, I make myself available Thursday between 4 and 6 for additional one-on-one. We have a lunch all together on Friday and an all-hands meeting where each startups gets about an hour to present its product, to explain what they're trying to do to the rest of the batch. And this involves everyone in the batch, so effectively count 30 to 40 people listening to the startups sharing, either showing product, showing ideas of product evolution, or sharing business issues. So if you look at it, like overall, like startups, get to work with us about 5 to 8 hours a week, and the rest of the week is completely for them. So they get a lot of time to work on the objectives that we set ourselves. What are the high points? So the high points is the Mentor Madness, which I explained to you very briefly before. We are sort of working with a close group of 20 to 30 mentors, to which we introduce each of the mentors between 4 and 5 startups. It's a matchmaking process, meaning that the startup and the entrepreneur need to say both that they want to work together. We share tips with the founders on how to engage the mentors, how to get the most of their mentors. And we also try to be extremely vigilant about how the mentor works with the startups. Again, they're not paid, they don't have any equity, they do this for fun, and obviously a lot of them end up investing in the startups. And I think Adrian will be able to talk about it later. So it already happened in batch 1 where some mentors invested in some of the startups. Founder stories, those successful entrepreneurs coming and sharing. So Nicolas Buisson from BlaBlaCar came. Here we had someone from Typeform. We had Ali Partovi, who was an advisor of Facebook and Uber, and many other. Workshops, again, those workshops have to help. There's not going to be like too many of them. They will be extremely focused. And when we don't have workshops, we will be mandating experts from our network to come and help with the startup. And this will be at no cost to the startup, obviously. And Demo Day, which is a product demo where entrepreneurs get a chance to meet with investors. For this, we have an amazing team of 6 people. Martina is the program manager. She makes, alongside Monse, everything happen. Gim and Sander are in the back. They coordinate the selection process. We expect anywhere between 800 and 1,000 applications this year. And Sylvia is our artistic director, and Jordi is our partner for communication. The advisory team is small and effectively works in close group. Pep Gomez, who's our chairman, and probably somewhere in the back, is part of the advisory team. Alongside, I put Sébastien. Sébastien was the entrepreneur in residence from the previous batch. Hey, Pep. So Sébastien was entrepreneur in residence in our previous batch. He was an alumni of NUMA. He got his company got acquired by Twitter. He was Twitter's head of growth for Europe, and so he worked with our startups every week here. I'm not sure whether it's going to be Sébastien for the next season, but it's going to be someone of that profile. And myself, I've been a banker for 8 years. I didn't go to jail because I ended up founding a startup which was accelerated about 3 years ago. My company got acquired a year and a half by an Italian competitor. So I know I've heard or I've learned the hard way what execution means. If you are late in the market, if you're not going fast enough, you end up being acquired by your competitor next door. Alongside this group of 3 people who will be working with you every week, they will be here. You will be meeting with them every Monday morning, and you could ping them for 101, as I said. There will be a team of associates, and this is a new thing, is that we've noticed last batch that some startups were struggling to get everything done. So when you set objectives, you need to get them done, otherwise there's no point in setting objectives. And sometimes they just lacked bandwidth, they lacked time, because they had so many things to do. So we decided to recruit, and we are starting the recruitment process, I guess probably early September, a team of 5 to 6 associates who will be here in residence the whole week, who will be working under the supervision of the advisory team to help startups get things done. There will be 3 people working on the business side, 2 on design, and 1 a potential engineer who will come and help startups get some front-end developing done. Martina will be responsible for allocating missions. So those associates work on a mission basis. They're not paid by the startups, don't worry, we take care of this. But they work on mandates, which are set Monday morning, as I said in this meeting where we set objectives for the week. And Martina will be responsible for staffing them and making sure that the work that they get done effectively meets the brief and is effectively usable by the startups. And in the advisory team, there's a group of about 30 mentors. Honestly, there's a lot of high-value people. They are tech entrepreneurs. They've been where you are. They understand the problems that you have. They understand where you want to go. And they do this for fun because when they were entrepreneurs themselves, they had help. They had been helped, or they wish they had been helped. And ad hoc experts, as I mentioned, working with you to build your sales machine, to automate some growth tricks, to work on product, to work on finance, or on human resources if you need to recruit a team of a lot of people. But effectively, HR is a big problem, but maybe later on. After the team, you're an alumni, which means, and that's for life, which means that you have access to NUMA's network. I'll show you a few numbers later on, but we've accelerated about 150 startups in Europe, which means there is about anywhere between 600 and 1,000 founders in our network that are super active and super responsive on what we call the brotherhood. So it's a group of entrepreneurs that started their business anywhere between 2011 and today. Some of them are mentors, actually, so it's a bit redundant. Some of them are not mentors, but they share issues and responses by email, by Slack, and so forth, and it's a super vibrant group of entrepreneurs. Some of them are extremely successful that I'll show you. You have access to our network, so if you want to go and launch your business in Paris, you can do so. If you want to launch in New York, you can do so. If you want to launch in Berlin, you can do so. We have for that what we call programs that we call scale hubs, where we help you open new markets. And last but not least, ongoing advisory for funding, because we are a shareholder and it's important to us that you get either to break even if your company's growth is not dependent on external funding, or that you get funding if you need funding to grow. And maybe now you've had enough of me, so I'm going to ask Adrien and Leo to come and maybe share a few words about their experience during the program. So please just give them a round of applause to Leo and Adrien.
Hola, muchachos. Hi. Quick question to start. How many of you people actually have a startup and are thinking about doing an acceleration program? Cool. You're in the right place. All right, how do we do this? Okay. Claro. Okay. Maybe Adri tells you the truth and I tell you the beautiful story. So I have three things I want to say. The first is what we did before NUMA, what happened during NUMA, and what happened after NUMA. So before NUMA, I had just kind of published my company, Tribe. We enable independent chefs to sell food from their homes. It's a sharing marketplace, sharing economy marketplace. And we had just launched a year ago, in the beginning of May 2016 in London. And we had some data, we had done some things, we were very happy, we had traction, we had proven the model as was required by NUMA, but something wasn't working. Like the unit economics weren't there, it was too heavy, the operational intensity was insane, so we decided we have to do an accelerator. And we evaluated all the accelerators and we found one that was focused on growth, that was NUMA Barcelona, and we thought, hey, we want to grow, let's do this one. So we flew in from London to Barcelona, and that's when the accelerator started. There are three key things I want to highlight from the accelerator. The first one is mentorship. It was mentioned many times, but it's a big value. When you're in a startup, there's huge intensity, and you're focused on one thing and one thing at all. So having people challenge you and shake you up in the washing machine, it does help. Sometimes it's frustrating when people ask you the same question 1 million times, but there's a benefit in that as well, because it crystallizes what you're actually doing. The second part is connections. So we got a lot of connections out of NUMA. We needed an operations partner. They were like, okay, Glovo's CEO is here, go talk to him. A lot of other stuff also in Paris, but a lot of connections. And the third one is friendships. It's actually something that's a bit softer, but it's hugely important. When you're in a startup, it's mega intense. You're just focused on one thing and one thing at all. Family, friends are kind of in the background. So being able to work with people like Adri, who was amazing, and actually share the challenges of having an early stage startup helps a lot. And you create friendships that last forever. And then finally, what happened after NUMA? So now we're launching our second market, which is Barcelona. We're launching in 3 weeks, but you can already order food on our platform today. It's amazing. And secondly, we've grown month over 100%, which is pretty good for a marketplace. All thanks to NUMA. Woohoo! Adri, do you want to say something?
Okay. As you see, Leo is the best speaker here in NUMA from the last year. So he speaks about all the story, the potential of e-commerce, and how someone from London and originally from Finnish comes to Barcelona to open a new market and choose one acceleration program as NUMA as the potential one to open a new market as a Spanish market. So in our case, we came from Valencia. We are a high-risk consumer product, so we are based in Bitcore is a social network, basically, to create stories and videos in collaborative way. So we thought when we were choosing NUMA and NUMA chose us that there were no accelerators here in Spain who support this kind of risky projects like us. And when we saw the feedback that Pep gave us, that Olivier gave us, the international approach that they have and good connections, we thought in the first time that we choose the right place to stay. So during these 4 months, we came here with just a beta version launch. We were a team of 6 people working in Valencia, and I came here alone. So during the process of washing machine, as Leo says, was good to analyze how the KPIs are working for your product and how to analyze the data in terms of consuming, how to measure everything, and measure was the word that the team repeat to me every time. And in other part, by the other hand, we choose NUMA because we feel that someone will come to us and give us good connections, and that happened. At the end of the acceleration program, we can say now it's more than 750,000 K. It's more than 900K in Series Seed. We have enough money to acquire users in Spain, to retain them, to create a good community around it, to improve the product, and also we launch in Mexico and UK. We are all global in the product, but we also have good connection from other programs in Paris, like Yellow, that are consumer products that grow so fast. So we had the opportunity, an amazing opportunity to talk with them. And to finish that, I think we find here people from Twitter, as Sebastian, that for me was the best advisor I had in all the acceleration program. He came and tell me how the community works, how the push notifications you have to create. So these are the key points that in your product, and a consumer and international product just can give you an accelerator as NUMA. So that's my experience here. Now we are growing so fast. We have more than 150,000 active users, and daily active users are around 25,000. So it's quite good. And yeah, we hope to have a good, successful story for NUMA. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So bear in mind, Leo, so if you want food and you are in Barcelona, there is Tribe for you. And it's launching in... And Vidcord, if you want to make collaborative video, and I used it recently, and I had probably one of the funniest nights ever with someone in my family, just sharing videos in two different places of the world and responding to each other. It's super fun. Thanks, guys. So what kind of startups are we looking for? And why did we select actually Leo and Adrian? We're looking for what we call vision-driven or mission-driven entrepreneurs who have, and that's the second part of the sentence, project skills with a project skill fit. So first part of the sentence, why are we looking for vision-driven or mission-driven founders? Because when you work with OKRs, you need a mission. You need a company statement, a company purpose. And from this company purpose, we know how to work down into objectives, into key results, into to-dos. That's because our framework for accelerating startups is OKRs. We need entrepreneurs with a very strong mission. The second part, which is project skill fit, I guess it's very simple to sort of describe it. If you're doing AI, it's better if you have a strong mathematical background, or if you're a data analyst, rather than if you have a master's in marketing. And conversely, if you're doing a marketplace for food, it may not be so critical that you're a data analyst more than just simply passionate about food and have a very unique way of looking at your marketplace. The second thing is we're looking for huge problems, something that are really big, and I'll explain you and I'll show you after a few big issues that we are interested in, because we are looking for big markets, because we're looking for big opportunities, because this is what VC-backable startups require. But more importantly, there is a very good article that I can sort of only recommend you to have a look at. Focus on the problem, not on the solution at this stage. And this is really what we'll be looking at during the selection problem, is your understanding of the problem that you are trying to solve. Third part, which is called market validation. So I talked to you a little bit before about it. We need market validation because otherwise we cannot go into an execution phase, and we effectively have to do market research with you. And market research is not as a slow process, but it takes time, and the program is only is so short, 4 months, that if we have to wait for 2 months to get certain hypothesis validated, we're already halfway through the program, and that's a shame because you don't make the most of it, and that's a little bit frustrating for some of the mentors or some of the people in the team, because we don't really get to do what we wanted to do with you. So market validation, again, it's validation of the problem that you need, a clear identification of the persona, who are you solving this problem for, and demonstration that those people are happy to use or are using your product, and more importantly, that if you intend to invoice it, that you can invoice it, that they effectively can buy it. Hyper-growth potential effectively means something that can scale, but more importantly, with no contingency or things that you don't have control over, and that can slow you down. So for instance, if you want to build a marketplace of electronic scooter for drivers of electronic scooters that would taxi you around Barcelona, well, there is an external dependency, which is the size of the installed park, which is pretty small today. And so right now we would have issue accelerating you because there's not an awful lot of electronic scooters in Barcelona right now. And last thing, which we're looking for something unique in you, either in your understanding of the market, in your connections within the industry, in the way you want to sell or the way you want to market your product, in your technological skills, whatever is something unique and is critical to the success of your company. So, I mentioned before, huge problems. These are some of the huge problems we really like. It doesn't mean that if you're not into this, you will not be into the program. It just means that, just give you an indication of things that we are really interested in. We are really interested in the food system. We are really interested in issues around mobility. We are really interested in education, in transparency and security of data. We are very interested in anything that helps manage the scarcity of resources or health. Anything that, deals with global problems that are so important that there's going to be a lot of money going into those problems for them to solve those problems. So yes, it does good for the society, of course, but also you can look at it as a very as good areas to explore, because there will be more and more money going into these fields. Again, those are not exclusive. If you have a project or a product which is doing something else, it's no big deal. Leo Adrian and Vidcord actually not in this space, and we were very happy to accelerate them. It's just to give you an indication of things that we are really interested in. If you are considering applying for the program. What is the objective of the selection? Is to get to understand and to know you. It's not to say whether your startup is good enough or bad enough. That's not the point. We are no gurus. We just the objective for us is to understand what you are doing. Meaning, what is your vision? And again, I go back to this point, which is OKRs. We need your vision to be able to sort of cascade what you want to achieve into smaller things. And the level of market validation. So this is a form that you may have to sort of go through during the interview process, which is the second part of the selection. I'll go about it later. But it's the beginning of your OKR work frame that we would work together on. What's the timeline? So the call for application was open about a couple of weeks ago. So it's just been open. We would be taking on applications until mid-July. The team will work through the summer. It's very, very cruel. To evaluate, to sort of look at your applications. We will be responding, hopefully, by the 1st of August, so that we can still have a little bit of a holiday. And the second phase will be effectively interviews. You will meet 1 to 2 or 3 people from the advisory group that jointly will decide to take you to the investment committee, where we will effectively bring about 15 to 17 startups and go down to a short list of 10. And the season will start on the 2nd of November and run until 4 years from now, which I think it starts on the 28th of February 2018. What's the deal with you? It's value with money, or you could say value for money, depending on which way you look at it. The program is provided to you for free in exchange for a 5% minority stake in your startup. And we provide you with a convertible note of 30K. The note is effectively, or the convertible is effectively 36K. So it's a little bit higher, but you may have to fund to pay us some VAT on the program, about 5K, and you will recoup the VAT. But consider it like, effectively on 2nd November, you have 36K, you have 30K net to play with during the program. And we may increase your convertible during the program if you have funding needs, during or after the program if you have funding needs. No, it's on top. So the convertible converts at a cap of 3 million. So there's a cap, and there is like a conversion event. I consider like if you have to look at the blended, it's a 6%. You look at the overall, but you can pay back the convertible if you don't want it to convert. What's our track record, which is important for you who don't necessarily know, I mean, if you don't know NUMA. So we've accelerated 150 startups. We're in 8 countries. Our startups have raised a little bit over 100 million. And some of those include companies such as Sketchfab, Infinite, which was acquired by Docker, Mesagraph, who's Sébastien Lefebvre, who was entrepreneur in residence last season, got acquired by Twitter, Storefront, which is a global marketplace for pop-up store, Augment, who works in augmented commerce, on and on. This is just to give you some sort of an insight into the network of alumni. There is, I didn't show any of the 10 startups which were accelerated in the last batch, but there are some amazing stuff. You saw Leo and Adrian, but there's also Anna from Shelter. There's also Tahir from Dogbeat, etc., etc. And they are just next door. How to apply? Well, on our website. Applications are open until the 9th of July. We will be conducting, there will be a few webinars like in the coming weeks for those of you that want to pop in and ask us questions if you don't get any response today, obviously. And I guess that's it. I probably have spoken enough. Thanks. And it's your time now. If you have any questions, please just raise your hand and I'll sort of come along with, you have a mic, Kim. Cool.
Hello, thank you.
Hello.
Is there a format or something that how you need the presentation to be done? I mean, if we want to to apply for, is there an apply form or shall we do it the way we want?
Yeah. So no. So there is an apply form. So no business plan, no presentation, no nothing. There is an apply form. It's pretty short. It's helpful. There are some questions which are not easy to respond to, but taking the time of responding to this form is actually quite helpful when building your company. There's about 25 questions. If you want to do it, like consider that it will take you between like half a day to 1 day to sort of fill in. If you want to be like super diligent, and otherwise, like if you have some good market validation, if you have a mission or good vision of what you want to do, it takes you half a day, no more, max.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, damn, I don't have my slides. You are an alumni, so after the program, you can stay here for a couple of months to keep working here. You still have access to us. We are less available than during the program where we put our lives on hold and effectively are here to work with you and only you and to push you where we said we'd push you at the beginning of the program. So we are still available. We still do some workshops here and there. We still do some events for the alumni, like we're catching up in a few weeks with the 10 startups. You have access to some events. So hang on, I'm just going to structure my response here. One, you have access to the network, which is the rest of the NUMAs in the world. If you just want to go to Paris for 1 day and work in the Paris office, consider it done. We send an email, hey, please, can you host this person? If you want to launch in a new country, there are programs which are called scale hops and which are reserved to alumni. So if you want to open in Paris, in New York, in Berlin, or somewhere else, you can apply to the program. Typically, it's the kind of discussion we have at the end of the program, or like even years after. So this is the first part, the network. The second part is the advisory around your fundraising strategy. We do help you at Demo Day to meet with investors. And more importantly, we continue after the program to meet with you. So yesterday I met with Tribe and I met with Anna. And I sit down, like, I don't sit down as much as during the program, like it's maybe once a month. But I sit down here and there just to get a feel for what's happening and give them whatever reasonable advice I can give them. And we have another event which is called the Investor Day. The Investor Day happens once a year. We invite about 20 funds from Europe to attend it. It's not necessarily in Barcelona. It can be in Paris or it can be elsewhere. So you have to take a flight for the day. And we effectively invite 20 funds. We send the funds your one-pagers before the day. They can decide to meet with up to 6 startups for 45 minutes interviews. So it's a very busy day for you. Some have met 10 funds in a day, which we're super busy, but super helpful at the same time because it saves them the time of making appointments, going from one VC to another, chasing up the VCs to get a response to their previous email. So this is the second thing, is that we keep helping you on raising funds. And the third thing is that you're part of the network, you're part of the alumni, and so we keep doing things for alumni as a group. There are benefits which are only open to alumni.
Hi. Does it sound? Yeah. I have many questions, but I'm going to stick with 3. The first is about your selection process is about to, you can know us, you can know the startup, but how do we have some tool or some event to know NUMA? For example, after the selection process during the summer, we can go to meet you beyond to the one-to-one interviews, so we can be sure that we want to stay in NUMA, because that's a thought decision.
Sure, you are effectively investing 5%. This is the way I tell it, like it's reverse investing. Talk to alumni. Talk to people that have been to NUMA. That's the first advice that I give you is, I'm not going to tell you that we do a bad job. so like you have to do your due diligence. And it's the same actually when you raise funds from anyone. Like you have to know who is on the other side of the table because they are an investor. So you're right. You have to be like cautious and diligent. There are a few alumni in this office. You can as well ask for introductions to alumni in Paris if you think that this is important. Like you know, because maybe in Barcelona it's different than in Paris, and you want to see like what's happening in Paris. So feel free to sort of reach out to them. I think typically the 2 interviews you have during the summer, they give you a good sense of who you will be working with. You effectively spend an hour and a half with us overall, 1 hour and a half to 2 hours. It helps getting to know one another.
Okay, thanks. Another question is about the requirements that you said for applying to NUMA. Which are the metrics? There are metrics for the points you showed. I think that probably there is 50% of subjective evaluation and 50% of objective evaluation. But there are metrics, for example, about the huge problems, I suppose market size.
Yeah. So market sizing obviously is important, and this is so. And to go a little bit further, it's addressable market that interests us more than just because often we get the response in market sizing. I'm a startup in food, and my market is 100 trillion. And all right, okay, wow. So look at who are you selling it to? What's the price like you're targeting? What's the problem? What's the size of the problem you're solving? So yes, there are some metrics that we need, like some figures that we need to sort of have an idea about. in terms of market validation, we have accelerated, like I'm just going to give you an idea in Paris, the last batch. So we have accelerated startups that were not founded, had no product, but they had commitment from clients. So they didn't even have a product. The company was not founded, but they were able to show us emails, and we were able to call these people, and they say, yes, we will be client, and effectively they had pre-commitments of 20K GMV. So we're like, okay, all right, there's market validation here. And so it's not market validation is not necessarily what we think. Like it's not necessarily I need to have like 500 users and who each pay 50 euros a month. Like, you know, this is good, this is great, but sometimes it can be different.
Okay, and last question about the advisors and mentorships. How many of them, which percentage, are still entrepreneurs? Because, you know, there are many people that made great things, but they left alone the hard work of being entrepreneurs, so they can talk about the past history.
Yep. That's a good point.
But there are entrepreneurs that they are long life entrepreneurs, and they still do the job, and we can take much more value of them. So which kind of mentorships do you have in that sense?
So yeah, so the advisory group, typically, I have to be honest, none of them are entrepreneurs as we speak. It's true, because right? They are here full time with you. So it's obviously they cannot have a product growing and be talking to a team of managing a team of 50 to 100 people, and at the same time be here and work with you. So those people, you're right, they are not entrepreneurs as we speak. They were in the last 3 years, they had a company. That's when I look at it, Pep just left Fever about not even a year ago. I left my companies not even 2 years ago. I mean, it was acquired a year and a half ago. But just to give you an idea, Sébastien sold Mesagraph in end of 2013. But again, yes, you may not be an entrepreneur when you are the head of growth at Twitter, but you still have very relevant experience over there. And then going back to your point, all the mentors are entrepreneurs as we speak.
That's it. Okay.
Yes. You're right. Yeah, 10 startups. Yeah. But the selection process, if we get to meet you, I didn't say I didn't want to sound too too marketish, but the interviews are super helpful for the startups. We're not here trying to beat up the startups and assess whether it's good or bad. We really want to understand why are you doing this? Where do you want to go? How do you want to go there? And it's effectively, these discussions are super helpful. If anything, we try to bring value during the selection already.
Thank you. Congratulations on the program. Looks awesome. Between the deadline for application and the day when startups are actually notified if they're in or out, there are about two months and a half, which is a lot of time for a startup. So is there a way after application to keep you posted on the progresses? Because I mean,
so yeah, between the moment you post your application, so if you post on the last day, on the 9th, on the morning of the 9th, and the final response will come on the final response will be on the 26th or 27th of September. So yes, there will be 2 months and a half, but there will be interviews in the meantime, so we will be able to get to know how you are progressing. But it's also good for you, and it's also one of those things that we explain during the program, is that you have to keep people engaged. In whatever you do, when you're raising funds, when you're trying to recruit a new founder, when you're trying to recruit employees, trying to get people to help you, you have to keep people engaged. And so this process of sending newsletters to 10 to 15 stakeholders every week, I ask them, I harass the guys here. I get it, more or less once a month. So aside from the interviews, the more news you give us, the better it is. Because we look at them in the end.
The other one is about discounts for our next round entry to mentors, advisors. This is something I've seen in a lot of accelerators here, where mentors have a 30% discount to access next round. No.
No.
Okay.
If you want to give it to them, I'm sure they'll be happy, of course.
Sure. Okay. Can you disclose how much money the last batch raised after the demo day? Do you have those stats already?
Not on top of mind. And I think a lot of them are actually in the process of closing their round. So they got out of the program beginning of March. And a lot of them have ongoing discussions with investors. So I think we'll have more visibility on that by end of September, I'd say, something around that.
The last one is what ties you have with US. I've seen Ali Partovian. I was actually at the meeting here at the meetup when he came and present. So it's interesting. But outside of Ali, what other ties do you have with US?
So we have an office in New York. That's I guess the most tangible tie that we have, and we have alumni in the US. It's the second tangible tie that we have, and third, we have network over there. So as you know, a lot of US investors have interest in European startups, and so they tend to reach out to us to meet with you. So that's I guess that's the third thing to be very accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Last question. What about confidentiality? I mean, if we apply and we fill in the form and we share with you our idea, in case it doesn't happen, in case we are not selected, what happened with our idea? I mean, is there a confidential guarantee?
No, but our reputation is almost kind of more important than anything else. So if we start breaking confidentiality of like put it simply, our mission is to help entrepreneurs. So if we start sharing news or information that is confidential to other people, we are like in complete breach of our mission. It's bad for our reputation, so we don't do it. And we are super respectful of whatever you're doing. It's not because whether we work together or not, like we don't try to influence or favor people by sharing what you do. If anything, what might happen is that some people, that we may share the name of your company and your 150 character description with some people that may ask for an introduction to you. That's I guess, that's the other side of what may happen. But we don't share your metrics. We don't share details about your technology. We don't share details of your go-to-market. We don't share any of that. What we may share is the name of your company and description, anything that is public, to put it simply. But private information is not given to anyone. It stays here.
Well, at the first stage, we don't really have so many metrics. We just have the idea. So and we value our idea. So, yeah. I mean, sometimes you are a bit scared about sharing the idea with,
I think when Uber launched, there was probably 10 Uber, Viber, Tuber, Gruber, Zoomer that were happening at the same time. And the difference between Uber, Vuber, Zoomer, Truber, Vuber was execution. So, like, I wouldn't be too concerned about, I understand that you don't want people to sort of get a head start on what you're working on. But put it simply, if you have the vision, if you have the right team, if you have the right method, if you have something unique, like you shouldn't be like don't be concerned about it. It's not will make it will make them better than you.
Thank you.
No more questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much for being here. Please do stay for coffee. The team is over there. If you have any question, feel free to sort of jump in and take someone, and we'll be very happy to respond to you. Thank you very much.